はい、じゃあ次の項目へ移りたいと思います。これがですね、ウクライナの、東そして南に多いロシア語話者という話なんですね。言語分布図を見るとクリミアに次いでドンバスでロシア語話者が多いということです。2001年の国勢調査、ロシア語を主要言語とする人の割合ですね。これは面白いんですよね。ロシア語話者っていう話と、それから自分のことをどういうふうに認識しているか、自己認知ですよね。自分はロシア人だと申告した人の割合、ドネツク州で、私はロシア語が言ってる人は 75% で、自分をウクライナ国民だけどそもそもロシア人だと考える人は 38%、 ルハンスク州でもロシア語主要言語だと考える人は 69%、 そして私はロシア人だと考える人は 39%。この違いっていうのはいろいろあると思うんですけれども、例えばロシア人とウクライナ人の間の夫婦に生まれた子供が自分をどっちに自認するかっていうのはそういう違いもありますんでね。でクリミア 77% の人はロシア語を話し、で 60% の人は自分は間違いなくロシア人だとこう考えているという調査です。ただしこれはウクライナで調査されたものなので、当然ウクライナのバイアスがかかっているわけです。それでもこれだけ多いということですね。これが、パレさんのご本に書かれていることです。で我々が訳したものです。
Yes, so this is pretty self-explanatory, I would say. This is like the figures speaks by themselves. But what we can add is that the people who don't speak Russian in Donbass, actually it doesn't mean they speak Ukrainian. They speak Surgic, which is a dialect that is a mix of Russian and Ukrainian somehow. But this dialect is different in eastern Ukraine as opposed to central Ukraine, because in eastern Ukraine this version of Surgic is closer to Russian. So actually it's almost 100% of people somehow who speak Russian there. In Donbass nobody spoke pure Ukrainian, nobody, but people who were from outside Donbass and who came to work as judges, for instance. It was the young people who went to some specific schools where they could learn Ukrainian language. In Mariupol you had, as I recall, about 65 schools, and out of 65, 5 of them were teaching in Ukrainian and 60 of them were teaching in Russian. So young people who were taught in these new schools, they could speak good Ukrainian, but it was not their mother tongue. It is not the mother tongue of anyone in Donbass. It's important to understand.
ウクライナ人はウクライナ語とロシア語の混じったスルジークという言葉を話す。スルジークの話っていうのは日本のマスコミでほとんど話されませんよね。IWJ の視聴者読者であればこの天使の並木道を書いた田中さんのインタビューを覚えていると思います。田中さんは実はそのウクライナで話す人たちの言葉というのはこの混ざり合った言葉なんだと、実はスルジクのことを言ってました。私はロシアの中で、ウクライナ人もちろんいますんでウクライナの人たちと話しましたけれども、こういった混ざり合った言葉を話しているというのは何度も聞いたことがあります。で同じことをパレさんも言ってます。でウクライナの東に行けば行くほどロシア語に近くなるということですね。で国勢調査はスルジクをウクライナ語に分類しているんです。そしてウクライナ語が有利になるように操作しているんですね。これがさっきの国勢調査の話です。Please explain about this
slide. So actually this comes to what I said earlier, right? It just confirms. And what I can say about this last point, this information I got from a colleague of mine in OSCE who had done a thesis on this 2001 census in Ukraine. And he is the one who told me that the people in charge of the survey decided to classify Surgic as Ukrainian in order to make it appear that Ukrainian was spoken by more people than it really was. Because it was part of a way of fabricating, the Ukrainian identity, even like cheating a bit with the figures. So I just wanted to quote my source in this case.
はい、これはそのスル塾についてさっきね、実はその前に見せましたね、これですね、はい、これはウクライナが操作したすでに情報操作されたスル軸を抜いた地図ですね。だけれどもスル軸についてちゃんと入れるとどうなるかというとこれですね、はい、これがこの赤いところがこれがクリミアそして、ドネツクそれからルガンスクここが一番最初に独立を主張したところで、そういうこの東から南にかけての一帯というのはこれルシでねロシアですね、ロシア語なんですね。でこの途中点がある。でこれが分かるでしょうかスル軸ですよね、そしてまあいわゆるウクライナ語って言われるのはここなんですね。そしてここはまた別になってくるんです。もう近くこのねハンガリーがあったりとかルーマニアがあったりしているところですから、でかつてこっち側がポーランドに入っていたりオーストリア・ハンガリー帝国に入っていたり、あるいはリトアニア公国に入っていたりとかしてですね、ずっとロシアの中にいたわけではないわけですね。でこれについて、の説明はここにあります。Please explain this.
Can we go back to the map?
Go back to the map.
はい、ありがとうございます。
Okay.
So actually this map is in French because it was made by this person who is a French Canadian. So but I thought it could be understood by English speaking people. This is Ukrainian, right? And he says Ukrainian Surgic. He's this part here, Ukrainian Surgic, central Ukraine, roughly. And then you have this big part here, which is Novorussia, which really is mixed between Surgic and Russian, right? So this refers to what I said, but in the census, they decided people who said Surgic, it's Ukrainian, but it's not Ukrainian here, right? They don't speak Ukrainian in this region. So that's why I thought this map was important, because it was more precise to show what exactly what language people actually speak in Ukraine. And you see there are other minority languages, like in the south of Odessa Oblast. This is called Bessarabia, this region. Many people from different ethnic groups. Also you have a Hungarian minority here on the border with Hungary. Also you have Transcarpathia region. Also you have people who speak Romanian, like in Chernivtsi, in this region. Also a little bit in Bessarabia again. So actually the language law from 2012, a local language law which allow people locally to choose their language, it was not only for Russian, it also allowed the Hungarian people to use Hungarian in the municipality, and same for people in areas where people spoke other languages, like Romanian here.
Hungarian people is Magyar.
So overall, the linguistic reality of Ukraine is very diverse initially, and so the idea to impose one language on the whole country is not self-obvious. And especially when you think that the language that is imposed on the whole country is just the language of these people who live on the West. Why is this language spoken here should be the state language? It's it's a decision they made, but it's not self-obvious once again.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at this reality, you could think that this country, it would have made more sense if it would allow more than one official language. But actually, even the 2012 law allowed one only state language, which was Ukrainian. But the law allowed for the use of other languages only at the local level, regional and municipal. So it was not challenging the state language. But yet, even that was unacceptable for Ukrainian nationalists. Ukrainian nationalists wanted Ukraine to be spoken everywhere at every level. And that is one of the causes of the war, when you think about it, because this is what started a lot of discontent in East and Southern Ukraine.
Okay. そして、もう一つですね、興味深い地図がですね、この5本の中で、示されているんですね。さっきちょっと見ました。実は言語で言えば、少なくとも3つのパートになるんだと。それを示すのが実は2010年の大統領選挙の時の投票分布だと。いうことですね。ヤヌコビッチさんがドンバスで高い得票率をしたと。でヤヌコビッチっていうのは2014年のユーロマイダンクーデターの時に大統領選挙で選ばれたのに、クーデター起きて追放されたわけです。でそのユーロマイダンクーデターの時に大変深く関与したのがビクトリア・ヌーランドで、ビクトリア・ヌーランドの会話というのは盗聴されて、そして、SNS で公開されてファッキン EU などということを言ってですね、で誰をどういうふうに閣僚を決めようとかということを話したんですね。そしてヤヌコビッチは追放して、ポロシェンコ政権を作り、その後ゼレンスキー政権になったと。それをちょっと2014年のその前2010年の大統領選挙の投票分布でヤヌコビッチが非常に支持されたっていうのはここにはっきり現れてるんですけど、これはヤヌコビッチさんっていうのはここ出身だということも関係あるんですね。Please explain this map.
ありがとうございます。So I put this map also in the first chapter of my book because I thought it was essential to understand Ukraine. And actually this is from 2010, but if you take the elections from 2004 and 5, it's the same map. It hasn't changed.
Yeah.
And it shows the great division, which, as you mentioned, I think overlaps with the language division.
Oh, my.
Right? It's the same limit. People here speak Russian, here Ukrainian. And they vote completely differently. And if you look at this area here, it is dark red. Dark red is 90%,
Timoshenko.
like 90%. It's enormous. 90%. And here, 同じです。90%でもfor the other candidate, Yanukovych. So then you realize between Donbass, because this is Donbass here, and Western Ukraine, the center of Ukrainian nationalism, it's completely opposite. Completely. 90% candidate A, 90% candidate B. I have observed elections in many countries. You don't see this kind of thing in the same country normally. But in Ukraine, you see it. And then you realize that what is the connection? What do these people have in common with these ones? By looking at this, you can wonder. And this is actually what a candidate told me in Kramatorsk, candidate for mayor in Kramatorsk in 2015, when I talked to her. She told me exactly the same thing. I mentioned the conversation in my book. She said, what do we have in common with people from Western Ukraine? We don't have the same language, we don't have the same history, we don't have the same economy, we don't have the same aspiration, because all these people, they work with Russia. many people here, they have family in Russia.
Understand?
Here, they don't.
Yeah.
Right? Here, they look towards Poland, towards
Yes,
Europe.
yes.
So it's completely different. And even the economy, all the companies working here in Donbass, they had contracts with Russia. And once Maidan occurred, then what's his name? Putin said, okay, if Ukraine joins the European market, then we break the trade agreement with Ukraine because we don't want to have European products in Russia. So it was a big problem for Donbass because they had to close factories. No more customers. And I know in Kramatorsk, for instance, they had 6 big factories. And Slavyansk as well. Kramatorsk and Slavyansk, it was like a lot of factories. Most of these factories closed down. Others kind of survived a bit, but what they were producing was not interesting for Europe. So, it was an economic disaster. The cutting ties with Russia for Donbass was economic disaster. Also in Mariupol, they closed factories. So it was a very bad decision. But this map helps to understand a lot about Ukraine. So that's why it's important to show it.
ちなみに、補っておくと、ヤヌコビッチを強く支持しているところはここ、それから対抗馬だったユリア・ティモシェンコ、ユリア・ティモシェンコというのは女性ですけれども、ウーマン、ここが非常に支持された。でユリア・ティモシェンコという人は実はこの2004年のオレンジ革命、オレンジレボリューションの時に、非常に有名になりました。で、西側では大変もてはやされて、ジャンヌ・ダルクとか、ウクライナのジャンヌ・ダルクとか、ウクライナのマドンナとか言われた女性ですけれども、彼女は非常に成り上がっていった。一番最初はですね、違法コピーのレンタル店みたいなことをやってたんですよ。でそこからですね成り上がっていってですごく大変なお金持ちになりました。成り上がりのオリガルヒの一人です。で、彼女はある富豪が殺害された事件の首謀者として、逮捕されました。逮捕されて拘束されたんですけど、2014年のユーロマイダンクーデターで、の後こちら側のですね方が勢力を握ったわけですね。そしたら彼女は釈放されて、で今ゼレンスキーがクビになりそうなんですけれども、その後ですね、再びユリア・ティモシェンコが出てくるという噂になっています。You want to explain about Yulia Tymoshenko?
Well, I don't have much to say about her actually, because she was not in charge when I was in Ukraine. But she was prime minister before of President Yushchenko.
Yes.
Yushchenko, who was elected in 2005 against Yanukovych already. But he was very strong nationalist, Yushchenko. And he named Tymoshenko as prime minister. But then after, they were fighting, you know, when they were also because Ukraine is Ukraine. There's always corruption involved, fights between oligarchs, and even though they had support from America already, and some people say that she was controlled by American government to control Yushchenko. So it was like saying Yushchenko was obeying America or even the CIA, right? And actually there's a lot of information that came out afterwards that Americans started to colonize Ukraine from the moment Yushchenko became president. They infiltrated the SBU, for instance. It was even said that the CIA had one whole floor for themselves inside the building of the SBU. Yes, they started to do a lot of things. Also, it is the period where the Americans started to develop these laboratories, which were controversial afterwards. But the laboratories were developed under Yushchenko. all around Ukraine. And nobody really knows what they were doing in these laboratories. It's a secret, right? But it's a different topic. And then Timoshenko, when, what's his name, Yanukovych came to power, there was an investigation against her and she was sentenced for corruption. Now, I don't know the details of the case. I never really digged into the case. Some people say the case was like forged, made up. Some people said, well, in Ukraine there's always something fishy. So if you want to get rid of somebody, you will find something, because there's always something to be found. I don't know, but she was put in jail, and she was freed from jail only just after Maidan.
Yeah.
And then she came back in politics. She was still the head of a major political party, because she still had some kind of aura. And she's one of the people responsible, by the way, of the failure of Minsk agreement, Yulia Tymoshenko. Because I remember in 2015, it was, I don't remember, it was 30th or 31st of August 2015, the day when the Ukrainian parliament voted to change the constitution to allow for special status for Donbass. This was the most important point of Minsk agreement, most important. And because there were nationalists, tens of thousands of them outside the parliament, demonstrated against this measure. It was in two steps on top of it. First, they voted a text to give Donbass status of autonomy, and then in order to allow this first text to be valid, they had to change the constitution. But for this, they had needed a different majority. But when the news came out that the first text was adopted, some people threw hand grenades. It was nationalist person, actually. It's identified. Person was identified from a nationalist group, and he killed 3 policemen, 1 journalist, and then 3 political parties, including Tymoshenko. They came out and says, "Oh, we will never vote the change of our constitution to give status of autonomy to Donbass." I remember she was one of the 3 parties who made public statement, "I will never vote for it." So she's responsible for killing the Minsk agreement. Not alone, but she's one of the people who killed the Minsk agreement. So she's still perceived as somebody who is more on the nationalist side. Even though at some point some people said, "Oh, well, but she can talk to the Russians as well," because she negotiated an agreement for gas when she was prime minister with the Russians. But afterwards, she was really put in the box of the nationalist, especially from this 2015 moment when she said she was against Minsk agreement. And now she's still around, Even if Zelensky steps down, she's still considered as one of the potential candidates to run again. But I don't know. I doubt she will have much support, like 50% plus 1, I doubt, but it depends who's against. That's the same thing. Who's running apart from her or others? We don't know as of now, so we can only speculate, but we don't know. If we can come back quickly to previous slide. I wanted to talk about Bessarabia quickly.
Bessarabia?
Bessarabia.
Yeah.
So you see, it's not much Russian, it seems, spoken here, but actually all these people speak Russian because they speak different, like Bulgarian, big Bulgarian, Romanian, but in order to speak together, they have to learn Russian. So they speak another language as a first language, but their second language, which is almost equal, is Russian, all these people. And that's why when they vote for pro-Russian parties, which you see on the map, if you go to the next map, you see it's dark blue. They vote heavily, like 80% for pro-Russian parties. Because they are, even though Russian is not their primary language, they don't want to have Ukrainian imposed on them. So that's why they vote for our opposition bloc. That's what just I wanted to comment.
すごく詳しくですね、ティモシェンコについてもう説明していただきました。私が今言った通りですね、ティモシェンコがポストゼレンスキーの後に出てくるかもしれないということを私も言い、それから彼もですね、お話をしてくださいました。次のスライドではやっぱりこの5本の中からですね取ったことで大変興味深いことを書いておられますパレさんがですね、これサミュエル・ハンティントンという非常に有名な学者です。先ほど89年から90年91年というような時代、冷戦が終わってそして、ソ連が崩壊してっていう時に2つの本がベストセラーになりました。それは一つはこのサミュエル・ハンチントンの文明の衝突であり、もう一つは歴史の終わりですね。フランシス・福山の歴史の終わりという本で、もうイデオロギー対立の歴史は終わったと。自由主義と民主主義、リベラルデモクラシーの勝利、完全勝利に終わって、この後はもうそういう理念の対決の歴史はもうないんだっていうのがフランシス・福山の言ったことでした。そしてそれに続いてサミュエル・ハンティントンはいやその理念の衝突の後は今度は文明の衝突が来るんだということを言ったんですね。文明の衝突というのは7つくらい8つくらいに世界中の文明を分ける。主に宗教とか民族によって分けられていくんですけれど、西洋文明がありアメリカ文明がありイスラム文明があり中国の儒教文明がありそして日本文明がありというようなふうに分けられていまして、それらが衝突をするぞということを言っていたんです。でウクライナの西部と東部の分裂に関して、実はこれ近年この2022年になって多くの人はこのロシアが言われなき侵攻したんだから突然その分裂が起こったように思ってるんですけれども、実はハンチントンはウクライナの NATO の加盟によってロシアの介入を招き分裂に至ると、こういう予測を96年の段階でしてたと。文明の衝突っていう本は非常に多くのベストセラーになりましたけれども、一方で一部のインテリからはね、非常に雑な本だと言って批判されたんですね。だけれども実はこういうリアルなポリティクスのところではちゃんと予言してたんですね。ウクライナは親欧米でウクライナ語を話す西部とロシア語を話しロシア志向が強い南東部に深く分断されていると。今ここで、こういうふうになっているこの通りのことを彼は実に早い段階で、予測していたんですね。それを書いたのはこちらです。私は今日本語で簡単に説明しましたけれども5本の中にパレさんが書いてあります。で、ハンチントンのことは後で知ったと、後で知ってて実は彼が予言してたということを知ってそういうことだったのかと驚いたということを書かれています。Please explain this theme.
はい、ありがとうございます。Indeed, it always annoys me when I hear people who say that the war in Ukraine is because of Putin. It's not knowing the history of the country, and the composition of the country, the dynamics that existed. But you have this guy, Samuel Huntington, a famous writer, as you said, who from 1996, very early on, he had understood because he knew that, as it's written here, that if Ukraine wanted to join NATO, the most likely consequence would be, he said, civil war with Russian intervention, and it will end in partition, which is exactly what happened. And if he could say that in 1996, it means it has nothing to do with Putin. It means it is a deep trend in which is part of the composition of Ukraine, of its how it was made. It was made from different peoples who had nothing in common almost. And that's why he actually was able to foresee what would happen. The drama, I mean, what is dramatic, what is tragic, is that his warning, which is very clear in his book, was totally ignored. But he was not the only one who said this. Actually, I remember I saw a video once from a Ukrainian intellectual from 1992, but I could not find his name again. But I saw a video twice on social networks. And he had foreseen that Ukraine could explode in a civil war. And it was only a matter of time. He said that in 1992. And then we know that I mentioned, when I was working in the French Ministry of Defense about the fact that it was totally unacceptable for Russians from 2007 for them to see Ukraine in NATO. Then it is now known that William Burns, who was then ambassador of the United States to Russia in 2008, he wrote a document called Burns Memo, I think, in which he explained to his government that the same thing as I read from the French ambassador, that Ukraine in NATO is a red line for Moscow. And red line in diplomatic language, it means potential reason to go to war. So it has been known for a long time by many other people, I'm not quoting all of them, that this would lead to war. And then people in power afterwards, especially the Democrat Party, kept talking about having Ukraine joining NATO, refusing to say that Ukraine did not have its place in NATO. So how can you follow this path? How is it possible that you would ignore all the warnings? If you ignore all the warnings, this means you're totally incompetent. You shouldn't be there in position of power. So it's hard to believe that they didn't know about it. So the other option is that they knew, but in spite of the fact that they knew, they decided to go ahead anyways. And actually, you see, there's also another important person about this debate, which is Zbigniew Brzezinski, who in 1997, 1 year afterwards, he wrote the book called The Grand Chessboard. The Grand Chessboard.
I know.
Very famous book, which I also read, and it explains many things about American long-term policy towards Ukraine. Brzezinski explains that the goal of America is to prevent the rise of a strong Russia, because it would be a competition for United States. So they want to prevent the rise of a strong Russia. So in order to prevent the rise of strong Russia, you have to weaken it. And how can you weaken Russia? By cutting Ukraine from it. Because Brzezinski was aware that there was many ties between the countries. And he said we should cut these ties and make sure we separate Ukraine, including economically, from Russia, and that will weaken Russia. So this is what they try to do. In Maidan, this is what they try to do, when they support the coup. When they support, the trade agreement with the EU, it's a way to separate Ukraine from Russia. And we know it created a lot of economic problems, as I just mentioned just before. So it's a long-term plan that they had, and it is said, not in the book though, but in some later speeches by Brzezinski, that he knew that separating Ukraine from Russia, Russians would not like it. But he thought, anyways, Russia is weak, and even if they don't like it, there's nothing they can do about it. This is so arrogant thinking, when you think about it. And indeed, when he writes his book in 1997, Russia is weak. Yeltsin is president. Russia is very weak. Everybody mocks Yeltsin, thinks he's just drunk all the time or half of the time. And Russia suffers terribly because of a transition from communism to capitalism, but a very brutal transition. Even the life expectancy goes down very deeply. It was a very bad period for Russians. And it is, actually Russia started to raise up from this very bad situation once Putin got elected. It's a fact. Yeah. He actually managed to make Russia great again, to talk like somebody else, what we know about. And he actually did. I mean, economically, Russia made a big boom since he became president. I mean, starting from very low, to say the truth. So anyways, and that's why he's very popular in Russia, Putin, because Russian people know that he is the one who picked up Russia from the bottom and helped it to raise again. And that's why, you know, people from the US deep state hate Putin, because he recreated a Russia that is again a rival, a potential rival to America, and they don't like it. So that's why they want him down. Anyways, so I was talking about Berezhinsky, who was thinking differently, and because of his arrogance, thinking that Russia would not have the means to react. This is the reason for war we have. So maybe the Democrats who were in power, they also thought Russia would not dare to react. And it would appear that they were surprised when Russia decided to help Crimea to become independent. It would appear they did not expect that, strangely. When it was, you know, warned 10 years before, as I said. Or maybe not 10 years, but 7 years before at least, as I read it. So, but it's strange, you know, sometimes what exactly do these people in power in the USA or even in Europe, what was in their mind in those days? Are they so ignorant about the reality of the ground? I still wonder, I still have questions, what exactly was their motives? Or maybe they thought, well, anyways, it doesn't matter what Russia thinks. Ukraine should decide of its fate, no matter what Russia thinks. But can Mexico decide to do whatever it wants? Can Mexico decide to join a military alliance? Again, that would be perceived as aggressive by the USA. Will the USA allow it? Will the USA allow Cuba to deploy Russian missiles in 1962? No, they did not. They threatened nuclear war. So the thing is, geopolitics is such that when you're a country with so close to Russia, with so many Russian people inside the country, you cannot do whatever you want. That's just geography and history that prevent you from doing whatever you want, whether you like it or not. This is not a moral judgment here. I can understand the argument that Ukraine should be able to do what it wants. Well, provided there's a majority of Ukrainians who want it, which in those days actually was not clear. You know, Ukraine was very split. I remember when I was in Ukraine, already in OSCE, there was a survey which showed a relative majority of Ukrainians wanted to join NATO. It was around 40%. And it was, I remember, a French diplomat who quoted this survey to me. Oh, but look, this survey shows that majority of Ukrainians want to join NATO. I said, well, 40% is not a majority for me. Because some people were undecided. They didn't know, right? As far as I recall, it was maybe 35% who said no, 40% yes. Oh, so yes wins. Oh, but what about people in the middle? They didn't know what to think about it. So anyways, that was probably in 2016, roughly, this survey. So anyways, I think it's not only a matter of what people think, it is also it matters what they are told. Or were the Ukrainian people told of the consequences, all the consequences? Were they aware? I'm not sure they were told about all the consequences. So even afterwards, later on, maybe many of them supported, oh yes, NATO. And they thought joining NATO would protect them. But, you know, myself, I knew, even before 2022, I knew it would have the opposite effect. No, joining NATO would not protect you. It would endanger you. Or just saying you want to join NATO. Because Russia would stop it before it happens. So just insisting on joining NATO, it endangered Ukraine. It was obvious to me already before this whole thing started from 2022. But even now, recently I talked to some Ukrainian people on Facebook, And they still did not understand that point. But it's like they never heard it. And then I told the guy, well, listen, you endangered yourself because of this, because of this, because of this. And it was like he never heard the argument. And I'm talking about somebody who was a university professor in Ukraine. But it shows that there was no real debate with everything on the table about this. Nobody had read Samuel Huntington. Not nobody.
Nobody.
Not few, very few people. Too few people.
Who?
I mean, in Ukraine.
Really?
In Ukraine. Even myself, I brought the book in Ukraine. I had bought it before going to Ukraine. I read half. And then I said, I will finish reading when I come to Ukraine. And then I discovered in the second part of the book, Huntington talks about Ukraine. Not for long. It's maybe maybe one chapter. And then specific about Ukraine, maybe it's 3 pages, something like that. But I didn't know he would speak about Ukraine in such terms. So that's why I discovered this probably in 2016, But he said that. And then it reminded me of what I read when I was in French Ministry of Defense with this telegram from Moscow. And so all this added up. I knew, these people should not try to join NATO. It will end badly, necessarily. And then when I saw that Poroshenko insisted on having in the Ukrainian constitution president after Maidan, elected in May 2014, as I recall. So when he became president, before actually he left power, he was very unpopular at the end of his term. He insisted of having voted in the constitution the goal to join NATO and the EU. And it was even more than that. It was said that the Ukrainian parliament could not, or even government, could not adopt any law that would go against the goal to join NATO. So it was like enshrining joining NATO in the constitution so that you couldn't do anything against it. And it is said that he did this because the US deep state pushed him to do this. Now I don't have the proof, but I read that. I forgot where actually, but it makes sense to me at the same time. I think many things that Poroshenko did, he did it with the strong invitation of the US deep state. Also in my second book, actually, the next one, I found information in the articles that I wrote when I was working as a journalist, how Biden was talking to Poroshenko. It was incredible. He was giving him orders, literally. There was a phone conversation which was released online, where you hear Biden talks to Poroshenko, even threatening him. And then you realize it's like the master talks to the slave. Do this, do that. And we know also it was Biden who ordered Poroshenko to fire the general prosecutor of Ukraine, who was investigating Burisma Holdings, the company where his son was working. Right? The company was on the investigation for corruption. Hunter Biden was working for that company. Right? And Biden, he admitted it. It's filmed. During a meeting of a Council of Foreign Relations, after he was no longer vice president, he admitted it. Oh yes, I told the Ukrainians, you have to fire the prosecutor general, or I don't give you $1 billion that I was supposed to give you. So, and he said, I'm taking the flight back in 6 hours. You have 6 hours to confirm to me that you're firing the general prosecutor. This is crazy story. And he's telling this story in front of Americans. Everybody laughs. And, okay, this is how America speaks to Ukraine. And, if I was Ukrainian, I would see that, to say how humiliating it is for Ukrainian people to be the slaves of America. Are they proud of it? Do they think they are better treated by America than they were treated by Russia? I mean, honestly, people should, but I'm not sure how many people saw this conversation, but it's a different topic.
今非常に長い話になりましたけれども、その話の中でちょっと僕が反応してしまったのは、この今言ったハンティントンのですね、文明の衝突というのは大変有名な本だっていうことを、世界中で生まれた本の一つ、歴史の終わりと文明の衝突はワンセットのように読まれたということをちょっと申し上げたんですけれども、ウクライナではなぜか全然読まれてなかったっていうのにはちょっと驚きました。それを読んでいたらみんなちょっとこれは大変なことになるっていうことを気がついたでしょうね。あともう一つ非常に面白かったのは、ブレジンスキーのグランドチェスボードという本についてお話になりました。You said about that Brzezinski and his book Grand Chessboard. It's very interesting. It's a very important book of Brzezinski. Many book translated his book in Japan, but without Grand Chessboard. Without.
It's not translated in Japanese?
Yeah. Because he wrote in this book, Japan is American junior partner. つまりこのグランドチェスボードというのは非常に重要な書物なんですけれども、そしてブレジンスキーというのは戦略家として非常に有名な人なんですね。で、たくさんの本が翻訳されていますが、一番重要な主張であるグランドチェスボードというのは翻訳されてません、日本では。なぜかというとですね、そこではあからさまに日本というのはアメリカの保護国である、従属国であると、ジュニアパートナーというふうに書いてあるからです。これは日本人の自尊心を傷つけると同時にですね、その戦後保守というものは本当の保守ではない。戦後右翼というのは本当の右翼でもない。戦後ナショナリストというのは本当のナショナリストでもない。彼らはアメリカに従属していく親米保守、親米右翼、親米ナショナリストなんですね。ということが分かってしまう本なんです。だから翻訳されてません。で、Brzezinski hate to Russia because he is Polish.
Yeah, also.
彼はですね、ポーランド出身なんですね。そして非常にヘイト感情といいますか、ロシアを憎悪する感情を持っていて、これはビクトリア・ヌーランド、ビクトリア・ヌーランドはルーツをですね、東欧のユダヤ人に持っていて、そしてアメリカに行くとですね、アメリカでも東ヨーロッパのユダヤ人村があったり、それからですね、ポーランドもですね、やっぱりコミュニティがあるんですよ。そしてそのコミュニティの中で何というんですかね、アメリカに影響力を与えていくっていう、そういう中で出てきた人物の一人ですね。ですから大変ブレジンスキーというのは大統領補佐官までやった人物で、戦略家として有名で、ブレジンスキーであったりそういう人物の言ってることが、これから世界はこうなるんだって言って素直に読んでたら大間違いを犯すっていう話でもあるわけですね。